there's stories out
You
that
and me, couple cigars, checking out some baseball prospects next winter. What do you say?
well, I mean, if I'm lucky if I can actually get down to like New Jersey, that far south. But
You call that
look,
lucky?
there's not that the real question is going to be. I mean, so people should understand the embargo is not lifted.
Right.
And to the extent that travel restrictions have been eased, it is not. It's not going to be terribly significant unless you have family there in many respects.
There's categories of travelers, and none of them
But
yet
none of
fall
those are
under.
really that
I just feel
different.
like going for the hell of it. It's educational, journalists. There's a number of categories,
But
but you
those,
really have to have a specific reason.
yeah, but those haven't changed. I mean, I went down there 14 years ago or 12 years ago with my wife who was shooting a documentary. We went down on an OFAC a license through the Treasury Department. It was to create a cultural product or something to that effect. I can't remember at the moment, but my mother has been there as a teacher, and I know other people. I mean, this doesn't seem that dramatic, other than maybe the enforcement. I don't know. But what's
No, you're
interesting?
right, but I think first of all, there's kind of what they allow and what they sort of officially put in
Right.
writing and say, and that does make a difference because it sends a signal and it tells people that we're not looking at this as the same kind of place. We're not looking at this as a pariah state anymore. We are opening diplomatic relations.
Well,
And so,
that's
yeah,
the big thing. That's the big
the
thing.
embargo is still there, yes, and travel has been loosened somewhat, and what you can import has been loosened somewhat. But in the end, the key part of it is that what we're saying is that we're moving away from an obstinate, stupid policy. That literally, in the history of stupid policies in this country, this may be one of the dumbest. We forced Castro into a corner by doing what we did right out of the gate in 1959. We didn't give the guy a chance. I mean, let's be honest here. He's done the Castro brothers have done a lot of terrible things. They've hurt a lot of people. They never were the type of people I'd be like, hey, let's be good buddies with them. But you know what? We're friends with Saudi Arabia. See how many
China.
people
Right.
they've executed in the town square, women because they cheated on their husband or something, or didn't. And so I mean, friends aren't going to allies in this world are never going to be perfect. The point is that when you consider who we're friends with, the fact that right out of the gate we said Bay of Pigs, and then we almost the world almost blew up over this island. And that's not exaggerating during the Cuban Missile Crisis, because we learned later that Russian generals on the ground had the command authority to launch tactical nukes at us if we hit them. And think about all the idiocy around that policy that never needed to be. Whatever your vision of the Cold War was, Cuba was a small island off.
Well, it wasn't just about the Cold War, and the one thing that sums up why we reacted the way that we did to Castro is in the course
Cubans.
in the course of this documentary. One of the guys that that Nikki interviewed, I should say. I mean, it's Nikki's film. I was just there basically doing a lot of the sort of grunt work. But
did you get a credit at least?
I think I did.
Okay, good.
But one of the photographers who was hired to basically photograph him, for propaganda value, had told us that he rode in the car with the Secret Service when Castro came to the UN back in the early 60s or whatever it was. And his the Secret Service name for him, for Castro, was Sugar One. And so, it gives you a real sense of what
sugar, some of the sugar barons who are
right.
over here, the Fanjul brothers.
It's all about certain commodities that we didn't
right.
want to, that we had powerful interest in this country.
See how Debbie Wasserman Schultz got where she is? Look up the Fanjul brothers, everyone. And you'll know why she's one of the Democrats against lifting the embargo.
There you go.
But that wasn't just it, Sam. That is a big part of it. It also was, they had Mario Diaz-Balart, however you pronounce his name, on TV the other day, and he's like, his mom was married to one of Castro's brothers. I mean, there's a family connection there, and literally they were deposed and Castro took over. And some of this has been that a lot of the angry Cuban elites that had to escape who were big shots under Batista, and owned all sorts of businesses that were shut down, were involved in government, and were kicked out. That they came to this country and they gave money and they had influence, and they lived in an electorally important state, and that had a lot to do with it too. We were just doing their policy.
That's why we've maintained this embargo. The reason why we initially were fearful of Castro had less to do with concern about Cubans who were being disenfranchised and more had to do with our own business interests being disenfranchised. You'll recall Michael yesterday was talking about that scene in Godfather 2 where Batista welcomes all the business interests in Cuba, and you've got these, these businessmen, these very staunch, sort of straight-laced businessmen from the banana, the coffee, the sugar, and then our friends from the gaming industry.
Right, they were about to turn that. They wanted to turn that into another Vegas. I mean, that was the plan.
Oh, well, they had.
And it was, but they were even going to do more than they had done. I think they were going to expand, and then of course, Michael saw that guy get shot in the street, got a little suspicious, gave Fredo a big kiss. He broke his heart. You know the rest.
Oh God, Fredo!
What a great movie. I think The Godfather 2 even better than the first one.
Fredo needs to go.
I'm sorry?
Fredo needs to go.
Oh, yeah. I mean, what a great movie.
Sorry,
lost myself for a second. Go ahead.
That's all right. It'll be interesting. But here's there was a poll that, I'm trying to think where I got this poll, but this poll just came out, I guess just the other day, actually. I don't know how recent it is, but this is the most telling stuff right here. This is a poll of the Cuban American community in Miami-Dade County, Florida. All right, so this is like
the most ground zero for what the base used to be of who was most against opening relations, just for perspective for people.
Exactly. 52% of the respondents oppose continuing the embargo. 52%. If Cuban Americans ages 18 to 29, 62% oppose the embargo.
I saw this poll too. I do think this poll came out recently.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I think so.
Now, this is what's really interesting. A large majority, 68%, favor reinstituting diplomatic relations with Cuba, which is essentially what the president is doing. That's basically all he's doing. Younger respondents, 90%. And so what's interesting
what you have
here
to do in that poll, I don't know if you saw the breakdowns, but to get to the point where you first get to a majority saying that we should not reinstitute diplomatic relations, you have to get to Cubans over 70 years old.
That's right.
And that tells you everything you need to know there. It's sort of like how old white people are the anchor of the Republican Party on almost every other issue. In this case, it's the same old people that just happen to be Cuban.
And what's fascinating is there's going to be a tremendous amount of pressure. There's going to be a lot of pressure on Congress now, right? To take the next step. We've already got diplomatic relations. You're going to get all sorts of pressure on Congress. Basically, most of the pressure, I think, is basically going to come from agribusiness, from,
all
Fat
those
Burger.
farm state Republicans, there's a lot of, 11 million people there. With a lot of needs. A lot of those farm state Republicans who, and others are very much in favor. You saw, Jeff Flake from Arizona was one of the ones there to meet, what's his name, Gross, who was released. Who wants, so this isn't, it's mostly on the Republican side. It's mostly, you've got sort of three groups. You've got those in Florida, and that includes, sadly, as I said, like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, some Democrats too. Then you've got those with national ambitions in the Republican Party who think that they'll lose in a primary, and then you just sort of got the angry older Cuban and then older white base that still can't accept that the Cold War is over and still just this newfangled world just freaks them out. But there's a lot. So there's even Rand Paul said he's in favor of it. He's going to run in the primaries, obviously. There's just a lot of Republicans. I mean, this will pass. Marco Rubio and another Democrat, sadly, Bob Menendez, they can yell and scream and stamp their feet as much as they want. I haven't done a head count, but my guess is that you'd find half of the Republicans and most of the Democrats in favor of going forward with some sort of relations. Also, Lindsey Graham, I think you could throw in there too, who started weeping about it, because my guess is in his addled mind, his thought process is, if we do this with Cuba, Iran could be next, which of course we all say
now,
absolutely.
Now, this is what I get. This is what I get out of this. Rand Paul could be helped. This could help him in places like Iowa, where apparently there's a lot of farmers, right, who might want to sell some of their stuff to Cubans. Cubans, a big rice market down there. I don't know how much rice is in Iowa, but and also from Rubio's perspective, this is, it almost feels to me like he is just positioning for a vice presidential nomination, right? Because it's basically him signaling like, I can't compete in the presidential race, but I'm a great vice presidential nominee because.
Well, if you think over the last month, I mean, you have to give the most hysterical sort of "I got screwed" award by everything in the world to Marco Rubio, because first he's made to look powerless, and people are reminded of the fact that he betrayed the Republican base on immigration reform by what President Obama did. So he has to come out and pretend he's so angry about what President Obama did, which sounds patently fake to anybody who knows that he pretty recently was in favor of probably going even further than President Obama. That's part A. And part B, Jeb Bush gets into the race. So you've got somebody else sucking up money from the same donors in competition, so he's not the Florida Republican dream. And then C, you've got this. And on this issue, he's going to find that he's in the minority, and people in his own party are going to say, you're nuts, And so he's sort of, in a way, he's had all these, issues. He's had so many rugs pulled out from under him. I think his presidential hopes are pretty much done.
Yes.
So you're right. You probably see him positioning himself for
his bottled water sponsorship, though, still going strong
through the roof.
Now
through the roof.